All right. I got to get you roles for guest. Roedyn.
Yep.
All right. Let's have a discussion about CSM.
All right.
Um, First, you have run how many times?
This will be my first time running.
All right, because you seem pretty seasoned, pretty practiced.
It's a lot of the, I guess, podcast appearances and, writing and just talking to people in general.
Well, what kind of writing and podcasting have you been doing?
So when the Neocom was still up, I was a regular there on the podcasts, starting I think episode 3 or 4. And then I also wrote for the Neocom on the trade recap series, basically me talking about being a trader and what I traded in. I started that April 2016, and I stopped writing it around October, November of the same year.
So a few months.
Mhm.
Okay. And how did you actually connect with Neocom?
It was actually so they actually put out. I just ran into them actually from the Total Eve aggregate,
Mm-hmm.
and I had caught them on episode 2. And at the end of the episode, they were actually doing a call out for, anyone who's interested in joining us for the podcast or being a contributor. And I actually emailed Kira Sukimoto and Proto, and they responded, and I got onto the team that way.
So it was kind of out of the blue then.
Yeah, I mean they asked for volunteers and stuff like that, and I volunteered. That was really it.
Did you find that you had a good experience? I mean, what did that actually teach you?
So it really so at the time that they started a podcast, so they were from Brave, and we were the game was experiencing the Brave phenomena, right? Like you brave
What's
everything.
break that down? What is that?
So as far as the Brave newbies were, the idea of a large corporation that was predominantly by new players in a different culture of just enjoying the game, don't worry about being too serious. And the game at the time was kind of fell in love with the idea, and then from there, Kira and Proto actually made a podcast out of their experiences being in that group.
It,
And this the kind of angle was kind of like this friendly, just generalized new player driven type of content.
yeah. So how is that like? Compare that to what Eve was before that, or tell me when you started playing.
So I started playing in 2009. So at the time, I was in high sec, kind of like the old standard story, high sec minor.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, after about a few months, became a renter in nullsec. We were first in Scalding Pass, I think. Stayed there for a few months, got evicted, moved to Wicked Creek, got evicted, moved to Wormholes, and I've been there ever since. Wormholes in Losec, ever since like 2010.
Well, the reason I'm asking you, you started in 2000. Did you say 9? 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not about pretty much the same as me. The players that were playing at that time were a bit different than Brave when they came in. I think maybe not. Maybe you disagree with that. But what, as far as representing people, what do you think? Like the Brave generation looks for in the game as opposed to the generations before.
I think the Brave generation really opened up that. Ace, let's not be so serious. Let's just actually have fun,
Mm-hmm.
and it really kind of broke down that
Well,
the
Goons had that in spades, right? They're like, we suck at this game. We're terrible.
no, you're absolutely right, and it kind of was. It's almost like a rebirth of that culture, right? It's just on a different group.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so refreshing, having experienced that. I was in Brave for a very short time. I kind of just like, why don't I join? But at the time, it was towards the latter part of their living in catch, and I kind of saw Brave not as advertised.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was, I was met with the the administrative tasks that come along a large group, right? So it wasn't this, put in an app, instant apply, and instant accept. Nah, nothing like that, man. I waited like weeks to get in,
Oh, they just were bad at paperwork.
yeah, it was. And it kind of saw that kind of broke my vision of the kind of this haphazard but carefree playing environment. To be honest, and like, oh well, they're kind of like any large corporation, really, at this point, I guess.
So I imagine you were playing the game for a while, and then Brave came along, looked exciting because it was kind of young and fresh, and there was people doing stuff with very low skill points. And you're like, you know what, I'm going to join that. Looks exciting. You try to join, and they're tripping all over themselves, not really letting you in as soon as you wanted or as fast as you thought they should have let you in.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And once I got in, I was kind of it wasn't. Maybe it's because of when I got in, towards the latter end of their occupation of catch, but it was there was a lot of just kind of showing off and like, oh, I know this, I know that, I make this much money, I make that much money, and then it drowned those types of voices drowned out new players.
Hmm. Um, so what I was asking was, since your experience with both cultures, like, are they different, those players, than the players that were around before?
I think, well, they're effectively the same group of people.
Okay.
The biggest, and then what they share really was, well, not necessarily what they share, but what really brought out the different aspects of their Eve personality, I think, was just having a platform to express it. As soon as someone said, "Hey, it's okay. It's okay if you lost your ship. Don't worry about it. We'll just have fun." It's like it just opened the door, man. But it's still the same player. At the end of the day, a neat player is a neat player is a neat player.
Is that true? You really think so? That Eve players are all the same, or deep
Well,
down?
I think there's a lot of shared uh, values that we have. I think
What are those?
so. I think it's fair to say that a lot of Eve players, more than play to win. I think that's a genuine aspect of the the environment of Eve as a game, to play to win.
People are competitive.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But the how that competitiveness manifests though can be different. A lot of people will what kind of traditionally be competitive, like in a combat sense, in a PvP sense. But there are others, especially I think you see it more now than ever, not necessarily going for that kind of competitiveness, but more for fame, being the cool internet guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that why you're running for CSM, to compete on that level?
Oh no, I'm not.
How are you different?
So why I am competing is, so during CSM 11, when that was breaking down, I was actually kind of, the World War B was happening, and we got all these predominantly, uh, basically like the World War B conflict was like playing out in the CSM candidacy, and it maybe was just my perception of it at the time that I was like, man, this might be like the last CSM because these guys are in and they're gonna, something's gonna happen, right? And this is gonna be, C-suite's gonna stop it. And I was actually kind of frustrated at that. So I thought that, you know what? I think I have something to offer this. If CSM 12 was still gonna be available, I think I, as a player, have something to offer that's different from what the previous CSMs have been able to offer out there to CCP and the player base. So it wasn't a really well formed idea at the time, but that was really the seed of my motivation to get in.
Okay, so you didn't run last year, though, when that was kind of the issue. They broke in CSM 10. Then CSM 11 kind of came in, and all this, the the speculation was that Zenuria was going to destroy it once and for all after it was really feeble, after Scion and Lilu got into it in CSM 10. CSM 11 comes around, Zenuria's on it. It turns out it's great. Everybody thinks they're adults. And so why didn't you run back then? Did you...
Too late for me to really, to run at the time. And I was, yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't think...
Because it seems like it's saved, that whole concern seems to be gone. It seems like it's pretty well saved.
No, you're absolutely right. But then when I thought about it, because I still think I have something to offer, though, even though the motivation may be not necessarily the motivation, but like the main reason why I'm doing it is like, oh well, CSM is fine, but that didn't really take away from my thinking of I still have something to offer.
I see. So that isn't necessarily why you're running this year, but that's when the spark was lit.
Yeah, that was literally like the seed.
Right. What I'm trying to get to though is I think people have a certain amount of expertise that run for CSM. You certainly do in markets and stuff like that. You notice we haven't talked about any of your expertise because that'll probably be covered in other places. But I want to figure out like who the person is that wants to run for this position to represent this many thousands of players, what your ambitions are. I mean, what is your core reason for running? Is it a trophy? Is it an accomplishment? Is it both those things plus more? Is it a capacity to want to influence the game? Because CSM is going to ruin your game.
Yeah, absolutely is. I mean, shit, man, just being in statecraft, Discord's like, oh man, it's frustrating being in that channel, but it's
so that people know out there, Discord. There's a Discord called Statecraft. It's made for diplomats, and they invited all the CSM members into a channel, and they're setting up debates that will happen between CSM members and stuff. So that's what you're talking about, and you've been in there for a while. And what's it like?
It's I'm not gonna lie. It was I was very intimidated being in there. I was intimidated because all these names, almost like they're like legendary names, right? And you got Vince there, you got Lady Scarlet, you got Doom Chinchilla, and all these other people. It's like, holy shit! Like
It's the who's who, right?
The who's who. Like I've heard these guys in like a gajillion podcasts, and I'm in the same comments as them. That's crazy. I was genuinely starstruck, being like my first day there. I didn't say nothing.
Yeah. But you probably worked up. You're an intelligent guy. You probably worked up the courage, right?
Yeah, I mean, we actually got engaged in several talking points. A lot of times, like the high sec guys will kind of get grouped up and like, hey, candidates, blah, blah, blah. They call us out by name. Like, what do you think of this? And then we write down what we think.
Yeah, it's like they're fishing, That's,
and I get that, though. I mean, it's
well,
they don't know me. I don't know them.
I don't know. It seems like a lot of performance, not a lot of actual curiosity. Are they really interested in you? Do you think null-sec guys are really interested in high-sec opinions?
I guess it's going to depend on who you ask, but I think does null-sec care about high-sec opinions? I think in a general gameplay state, no. I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think nullsec is in a state right now where you, like, even as a genuine new player, you could literally be, oh, I just finished the NPE. I've done like the military starter missions. I'm gonna go to nullsec now, and that's totally viable. Back when I started, that was not viable. That was a no-go. But these days, that's actually quite normal now.
Well, what do you think of that, though? Because you've been here a while, right? You've been here 8 years. Like, do you like Eve now, or do you like Eve the way it was? Where do you see it going, and how do you expect to be a part of that?
If I were to have started Eve now, and retain, if I was able to transport my 2009 self to today, I would not stick with this game.
Oh, interesting. Why?
I wouldn't. Because the the idea of the frontier, the idea of the unknown, of not knowing what's going to happen, that doesn't exist anymore. Everything is categorized, has a wiki, has a YouTube guide. The idea of the discovery is lost on these new players. There is no eureka moment anymore for these new players, for most of these new players, I don't think.
Oh. You mean when they start the game, it's almost like the whole buffet's in front of them. There's no foraging for food. They get the best stuff there is off the bat, or at least they know about it or can find out about it. Or
Yeah, because like when you and I started, the time frame that we started, if it's from a time perspective, right around the same time, there wasn't a lot of material on Eve, right? Not at the same scope that it does now. But part of the joy of learning a frustrating game is eventually learning it.
yeah. So do you think Eve is fun?
I think it's a different kind of fun. I think 2009 fun is different from 2017 fun. I think Eve now is more on. It's almost as if we've used Eve as a way to meet like-minded people, but we don't necessarily play with them in Eve. But now we've hooked up as regular people. We can we can hang out in other games or real life meets or whatever. Like it's almost like you don't really need Eve anymore to play Eve.
Hmm. You're really just meeting around it, but you don't really need it.
Yeah, and that sounds really strange, but at the same time, it seems to be still viable.
Hmm. So, so you think it's fun, but you think it's fun in a different way. Like things are presented like too quickly to you. There's not enough what torture. It's not enough pain.
Not necessarily torture. It's just like I think it's just the way the game itself plays itself out. Um, this game is not meant to be taught in a tutorial. This game is not meant to be, because it doesn't come with a manual. I mean, like most games that we grew up with, there was a manual. This is how you play the game. There is no how you play the game for Eve.
Yeah.
So when new players are coming in, taking myself as an example, my older self, my older gaming self, I may have stuck a little longer in the game, but I don't think I would have had the same enjoyment if I were to start now.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. So do you think Eve needs more of that, hey, remember your roots, or like we're in a new world now? Like where do you fall in those two?
I think from an economic standpoint, I don't think it's economically viable to go back to how it was, even if it was more fun, in a pure discovery sort of way. I think mostly because of the way MMOs have played out as a genre and the free to play scene and all that stuff. To be competitive, we can't have 2000. We can't have old Eve. We just can't.
Yeah.
At least the economic viability of it.
Yeah. So what's your background in the game as far as like the kind of stuff that you would be able to influence on CSM, or at least talk to intelligently?
I can definitely talk intelligently about the markets. However, I always kind of like have this disclaimer. I'm not a big third-party tools guy.
Yeah. That's
So
interesting. What do you mean by that? You don't use them or you don't like them?
literally right now across, so I only have two accounts. One with my main Roedyn that has my combat characters, Roedyn, and a faction warfare character and a scanner. I have another account full of traders. With
I
those,
love it when you say that because it sounds like they're betraying you.
so you kind of like a varied spectrum of gameplay, right?
Yeah.
So the combat side and the trading indie side. The only tool I actually use is Mogul for profit tracking. All the other stuff I play blind, and I like playing blind. I like when I go PvP solo. I am legit playing solo. No scouts, no boosts, no nothing, and I enjoy the not knowing, and that's why I played like that.
So you do that on purpose? because you're a competitive guy. You seem to, you've polished your campaign. You're very active, and you seem like an intelligent guy. So you choose to kind of put one arm behind your back.
Absolutely, because it's fun. I like the challenge, and it feels pure. It feels like when I was younger in the game. I don't want to. I don't want to be encumbered by extra tools. I just want to experience the game and literally just live it. And like it breaks immersion for me when I'm using tools. Like it breaks the idea that I'm in space in a capsule in a ship, shooting you in the face.
Well, you're not actually shooting a ship in the face most of the time,
That's
but that is an old expression and stuff. I've noticed that you pick up a lot of old expressions, or not even old expressions. You pick up a lot of expressions and stuff, which is, to me, it's like there's okay. Got to move all that stuff out of the way. Those are all like attempts to relate, right? Like that's what I see a lot of younger players do is they use expressions that don't belong to them. Not saying anybody you, but the younger players will say things like, "Oh, I'll shoot you in the face" or whatever because they've heard it, and so they are kind of acquiring culture to relate to people who've been here a lot longer. So they use knowledge that's given to them, but they don't really understand the depth of the knowledge or where it falls apart because you can say, I don't know, you can say this is a truism of Eve, but then it falls apart in a certain circumstances and stuff. So they don't seem to own it. And that's how I can tell when a young player is talking to me as opposed to kind of an old player. So for you use you're an older player, but you use some of those same like things. And I actually noticed that people from Neocom used to do that a lot too. They would kind of say like, don't disrupt ganking. That's a time-honored, tradition of blowing up freighters, and it's just like very very solid positions that have been argued, but I felt like there's a lot of nuance missing and that sort of thing. So it doesn't surprise me because that's maybe who you were hanging out with and stuff like that. But I find also that you are interesting inside of that because you're a trader, you're trading, you're using market stuff, which is always a sign of somebody that likes meticulous planning and also likes competitiveness. But you're kind of a high-sec candidate. You seem to know a lot about a lot of things. And you're ex-military, is that right? Can I say that?
Yeah, I actually am still. I just passed my 16th year in the Navy.
Navy, yeah. And your background is what?
So I am like a medical person in the military, and I'm actually right now in Naval Station Great Lakes. So that's where our boot camp is. And before that, I just kind of been around, couple ship deployments and stuff like that. The Marines, the usual stuff.
Yeah. I'm not that familiar with military culture, but I know that there's definitely a strong culture there, a sense of working together and a sense of executing well laid plans.
And Jay McClane, man, that's all you need. Jay McClane. Like he is the epitome. He is the total epitome.
Yeah, we should call him Sarge. But
right.
But your background, what's your ethnic background?
Well, I'm Filipino.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I'm Mexican, right? Like, and I don't know if that gets talked about. It doesn't have to get talked about. We're faceless in space, I guess. We're just ships or whatever. But I just like that idea of, that it's a international game. And
it totally is.
And Americans aren't just Americans. There's so many different types of Americans. So that's one of the things that intrigues me about you. Like, that is super interesting to me anyway, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we of course, notice the various Europeans in the game and stuff like that. But I think not a lot of, I guess the other types of diversity isn't as forward facing, I guess.
Yeah, I just think like even inside the United States, there's different kinds of ethnicities and backgrounds and stuff like that. So you're Filipino, military, and you're into trading, and it's just kind of a funny combination of who you are.
I guess. Yeah,
It's like
you're right though. You're right.
how you've twisted into this, wouldn't say they're contradictory, but they're just unique, different perspectives, all kind of come together.
Yeah, it's been a crazy experience. I mean, it all started with an EVE Online advertisement in Yahoo for me. That's literally how I got into the game. I checked it out and I bought the first month sub, and I've been paying for it ever since.
Yes, you have. You've been tortured ever since.
Literally, literally and figuratively, been paying for it.
All right, thanks for showing up. Good luck in your campaign. Let's say that one more time.
Thanks.
Oh, okay.